Hey, Michael. You know
How's it
what I
going?
just you know what I just realized?
What's that?
This is great. And for the one person that's watching right now, I did my whole intro without actually being on the show. That was great. So I introduced you without actually introducing you.
That's okay. That's cool.
So by the way, folks, this is Michael Johnson. I love that. That's great. Um, that's too bad. I liked that little intro. I was happy with that. Anyway, how you doing, Michael?
I'm doing good, thanks, man, and thank you for having me.
Excellent. And so I will do a little backtrack to my intro and just let everybody know that Michael Johnson is the creator and host of Tea with Mike. And that's why we're here to talk to him today. Well, part of the reason. And speaking of Tea with Mike, come on, turn the cup. There we go. That's the stuff. So, Tea with Mike,
That's me.
when and why did that start?
Yeah, for sure. Great question. So the Tea with Mike show, like if we're taking the headline news first, started as a complete accident. So I was taking a media and communications program at Red Deer College. I was in, I think it was a communications theory class. And this was one of those classes where you had to write a lot of essays. You had to cite your sources. Like it was very meticulous. And there was this one project towards the end where there was a little bit more freedom and stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm done writing essays and checking out all these books in the library and getting critiqued really hard on something that I put hours into. And so in this project, one of the examples given on the sheet was that you could go out and start like interviewing people. And I'm like, great. I love talking at theaters. I've always loved theater and entertainment and that type of thing, very extroverted. And I was like, great. I can put away these library books and do something a little bit more creative. So I started the show then. It started as kind of an Instagram live. Didn't really know what I was doing. When I go back and look at some of the first episodes of the show, I cringe hard, but as I'm learning every single day, it's a journey and a process. So that's kind of how it started. And then at the beginning, obviously, I did it for the project, but now it's really evolved into a platform for storytelling and conversation and collaboration. And people have been very supportive, and it's just been growing every single day. So I guess
Right.
that's the short version.
And that sounds great. And I hear you about looking back on your older stuff and cringing a bit. I'm going to be looking back at this one, and especially at the intro, and cringing a little bit. And probably maybe a couple episodes down the road. Yes, Mary, I was wondering where I was too. So, so the thing I like about your show is you've got quite the range of guest types that you kind of bring on the show. So I'm kind of curious as to, like, do you have a process on how you choose your guests, or?
Sure.
Yeah.
So like everything that is ever changing. At the beginning, I was like, who can I grab around the college campus that's that would do it? So I convinced someone that I knew. I booked a study room. We recorded it. I realized I didn't have a tripod, so my phone was like balancing on some bugs, and I was trying to do it very conversational, but because I hadn't got the right like camera angle and like half off the screen and like on a super like dodgy angle, and I forgot to turn the lights on, and I don't know, it was terrible to me, to be honest. And like I said, every time I look back at it, I'm like, wow, I did that. And then the next episode, I was like, okay, this isn't working. So thought about the lighting a little bit more. It was another. So I did I think it was an Instagram live. Yeah, so I did an Instagram live with someone randomly that I reached out to on social media in the States. And then the third episode was similar. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is not working. And so very early on, I switched to pre-recording the show and then promoting it afterwards, just because you don't know when a guest isn't going to show up, when you're going to have technical problems, and everyone has different technical systems, and some people are better at technology than others. and you could spend 30 minutes explaining as you're supposed to be recording the show, like what they're supposed to be doing, and it just looks bad.
Yeah, and I've experienced all that so far, so, especially with the live stuff, right? I've had guests not show up. I've had lots of technical issues, especially last season. So I completely understand. There's definitely benefits because first season of Talent Talk was live and pre-recorded, and there was definitely advantages to that because, of course, you cut down and pick and choose your topics or whatever that were
Of
going
course.
on, right? And shorten it down to whatever length you wanted. Whereas now, here we are, you and I, we're live for however long, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, who knows, right? And you never know what's going to happen.
That's true.
But I kind of like that aspect, to be honest. I don't know, it can be kind of fun and scary. I remember when my one guest did not show up, I spent 15 minutes just talking to myself, really. A couple comments would come on screen, but that was about it. So and then I just shut it down for the episode. But it can make it interesting, I think. And for yourself, is it meant to be? Well, I guess what's your direction with it? Because right now, I think you've kind of slowed down with the number of episodes and stuff you're doing right now. I think, right? Or are you still going pretty heavy?
No, I'm still recording an episode a week. I'm posting less content online at the moment while I kind of realign, like the goal that's always changing and what you want to get out of it. So right now I'm about to take the show to audio only. And then the reason for that is so I can get more into the live streaming, and engage with people, with the community that I've built up a little more. And also it's fun to talk to people. So I'm just seeing where I'm getting the most return on my time. So always evolving, from a library to a cafeteria to taking it off live to pre-recording it to now about to change it to audio. I guess this is another like shift of direction, and then mixing in some live streaming to engage the community.
Right. So that actually brings up a question. So right now, yours is a video podcast similar to this. Is there an intent to actually go with just a straight audio podcast?
Yep, straight audio podcast.
And like, do you have a media that you want to actually put it on at this point, or?
Well, it's already on the podcasting platforms, but
like Spotify or
Apple Podcasts, all of those. But what I'm not doing, because I was doing more video and stuff, but I'm not really promoting the podcast links like hard, and there's a lot of other places that I'm not promoting that I could be promoting to increase the impact. And I've also found when I go live and create collaborations, there's always a cool moment that comes out of that, whether that's meeting new people, building stronger relationships with whoever I'm speaking to, and that type of thing. Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of your guests, there's a wide range of occupations, I guess you could say, or they have different. Like, for example, this is more towards people within the media industry, but you go outside, you go to technology people, you go to engineers. Like you talk to.
We've had a lawyer and some engineers and pageantry and all sorts. People with certifications in gardening, and they teach gardening, and it's kind of cool.
It is, and that's what I kind of like about your show, I guess. And my question is, I guess, do you go out looking for these guests, or do they come to you?
Oh yes, that was the question like 4 minutes ago.
Well, no, but I mean, sorry, but I meant, because at this point now, where you're at, like for example, I know with this show, I'm getting a lot more people now coming to me directly instead of me going out to them, and I just wanted to see what that transition was like for you as well.
Yeah, very much so. Started as only people I knew, and then you persuade someone that you connected somehow with on social media, that you didn't really control, because the first people you follow on social media is quite randomized, just based off algorithms and that type of thing. And then, so now it's involved where people send me messages weekly, and I receive emails, some random emails. That's always that's always cool. Like the first time I received a random email to be asking to be on my show, it was like, well, that's cool. But then at the same time, there's also a higher level of responsibility. You have to spend more time doing research, checking out who these people are. Do they have a social history? So there's a lot of other factors that go beyond kind of the initial like, wow, this is cool. But anyone that reaches out, I'm like, they've seen the show somewhere clearly for the most part.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Or word of mouth or whatever.
Word of mouth is a big one.
Yeah. And that's kind of the fun part of this job, I guess you could say, because it is kind of a job. I mean, we're not really getting paid for it. At least I'm not. I don't know about you. Maybe you're making millions at it, but it is still kind of a job because there's so much work going into it, pre-show, post-show. Like it's just a really time-intensive thing. And I guess that kind of leads into a different question. What do you do outside of Tea with Mike?
What do I do outside of Tea with Mike? Well, I go for tea with people in real life. I love Starbucks. This is not an endorsement, even though I think we would work really well together. Because people always ask me on social media, like when I was posting like, "What's your favorite type of tea?" All of those kind of things. But yeah, I like playing sports, tennis, soccer. Like we've chatted about this a little bit, but for some reason my top performing post on Instagram last year was me cooking in the kitchen, which is so strange to me, but I guess that's how the algorithms work. Yeah, just I'm trying to get it outside more. I just started going to the gym. I made an investment into a personal trainer that's really good, just to really improve my level of fitness. Because I like to eat, but I've learned that you can eat what you want as long as you balance it out with the appropriate amount of exercise.
Yeah, I know what that's all about because I have not done any balancing whatsoever. So it's just all right here. So good for you to keep that balance. So you're not really tied down, I guess you could say, to a full-time day job at this point.
I have a part-time day job, and I'm building some side things outside of that. And one day I hope to quit the day job and obviously go full-time in what I'm passionate about. But having said that, I do use my day job to practice communication skills and build relationships, because sometimes this is really weird, but from time to time, like, people have seen the podcast that come into the liquor store, so it goes from a screen to, oh my god, I got to make sure I'm switched on. I'm still the same person in real life as I am on the screen, you know?
Right.
Even if I'm having the worst day possible and I just had 10 dodgy customers, I still got to be the same person. So it's got to be self-aware.
You do, yeah. And even with this show, like, I've been told that, sometimes I'm a little more extra as the host than I am in real life, I guess. But I don't know. I guess that might be true. I don't know. I guess I'm not that self-aware. So. But since you're like, because Tea with Mike obviously isn't your only kind of avenue that you're going into right now. You've got other adventures that you're trying to get going as well. Like, I don't know if you want to talk about those or not, but
okay, sure. So more recently, I was like, okay, so I've been building Tea with Mike for like 2.5 years. So I'm like, whoa. So I've invested a lot, and then also have a formal background in media and communications, and so I've kind of got some base level knowledge, and then a demonstration of application in the real world. It's one thing to learn it in a textbook in class. It's another thing to do it in real life. And so I've kind of got both of those. And so me and a partner launched a business called Back of House Media. And so that's in like website design, branding, social media, and things like that. Because I think moving forward, and I think the pandemic has accelerated that, I think branding and also community awareness and networking and all of those types of things are going to be the only way that you are able to succeed in the long run. I mean, I'm not saying you have to post every day to social media, but you should have a professional presence, is what I'm alluding to.
Right. Because it's not, yeah, just a, like, and we've touched on this before as well, but it's not about necessarily the quantity. There's a certain quality aspect you've got to consider as well, right?
Yeah,
What your content is that you're putting on there. Yeah.
Especially if you want to do it professionally. I think at least on the podcasting side, there's that moment where it crosses from being a hobby, where you've already invested so much time into like, okay, this is serious. Like the level of guest is like increasing. It's reaching more countries in the world. More people are sharing it. So any of those sorts of signs is like probably a sign that you should consider maybe taking it seriously. Well, at least in my case.
Right. No, and I think that's fair. I was meaning to ask you because I don't know why this triggered my question, but when you were talking about global awareness and such, are you from Calgary?
No,
or from Alberta, I guess I should say.
Yeah, so originally from England, moved to Red Deer, Alberta, spent a little bit of time in Edmonton, had done some work and things like that there, and then I was in Edmonton, and then I was working at the Edmonton Expo, and then the pandemic actually brought me back to Red Deer. But I like Edmonton's arts and community scene, so taking the Teawithmike in some capacity to the Edmonton Fringe is definitely on my radar.
Okay, no, that's right. Hopefully that starts up again fairly soon.
Yeah, they're actually supposed to. They're making an announcement tomorrow at 10, right? So.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah. So
cool.
So I feel like it's going to be a modified version because obviously you won't see any. It's going to be entirely local, so it's probably a different process for like selecting plays and that type of thing versus the lottery, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think we've got another 6 months to a year. That kind of stuff. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Hopefully, we'll be back to relatively normal. So.
Only time will tell.
Right, exactly. I am kind of curious to see what happens after Stampede here. I'm not going to get into that conversation, but I'm just waiting to see what happens. I'm just curious though. When did you actually come over from England then? How old were you?
So 25. So it's about, this is year 8, I think. Yeah.
Year 8. Okay. And what was your motivation to come here?
My dad's job.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yes.
It happens all the time, right?
And then also we really like Canada because when we were living in England, we came on holiday a couple of times to Canada, to Vancouver and Ottawa, and had some good experiences. So
it's funny you say that because I've visited Scotland a couple of times.
I've been to Scotland many times,
and I want to move there now. So, but yeah, that won't be happening anytime soon. Again, unless like your dad's footsteps, I can actually land a job there or something. But at this point, no. It'd be a great place for me to retire. I think I'd love that.
What do you like about Scotland?
Well, Scotland and England, honestly, I love all the old architecture and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, cool.
I would just travel around and visit all the sites and all the broken down castles that are hidden away in the back.
Yeah, the stones and
the stones too. Yeah, for sure.
And the rain and the cold wind. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I did go to Scotland when I was younger, back in, aging myself here, 98. And
when I was 3 years old.
Aging me even more. And I literally just did a whole kind of solo walkabout Scotland. And I remember this one time I was doing kind of a hostel hopping situation. So I just go hostel to hostel. And I stopped at this one hostel, and it was just downpouring rain when I decided to leave. And I was kind of walking down the road. Like, I couldn't see 5 feet in front of me. The rain was so heavy. And so then it started to die down because it didn't last long. Like, it was still cloudy and a little bit drizzly, but it wasn't downpouring like 2 minutes later. And so I started to throw my thumb out, and literally the first car that came by was this Jaguar, nice leather seats, the whole bit. And he's like, where are you headed? And I like told him what town I was going to. He's like, hop on in. I was like, I'm looking at the seats. I'm looking at him. I'm like, you see, I'm so great. Are you sure about that? Oh yeah. He's like, don't worry about it. And I found that all throughout my entire trip, these people were so friendly. But I also found that one of the first questions most people asked, "Are you American?" I'd be like, "No." Okay, hop on in. That's okay. So, but yeah, I had a great time there. So that's
cool,
the first
man.
time I fell in love with it, and then I went with the family a couple of years back. But you know what? This show is not about me. So let's get back to you.
That's fine by me.
See, because you're a host, it's reversing, right?
Of course.
That's just gonna how it's gonna happen, I think. Although you haven't actually asked me a question yet, but that's how I foresee it going. Okay, so yeah, you came here 8 years ago, and was media always kind of on the forefront of your mind? That's what you wanted to get into?
No, not at all. So first love was and still is in a lot of ways. It's just in a different application form. So my first love was always theatre. When I was in England, got the bug for theatre. I got to perform on a Georgian theatre stage, going back to the year, oh my god, 1712, I think. Or was it 18? Either 1712 or 1812. It's escaping me.
By the way, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's called the Georgian Theatre Royale in Richmond, North Yorkshire. And if you're in England anytime, that's definitely an amazing place to check out. It still got all its original like Shakespearean boxes and wooden stages and all the original like architecture for the most part and that type of thing. And just the atmosphere in there, that I used to go to a pantomime each year. Do you know what a pantomime is?
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, and it was very intimate, and you could literally like touch the stage if you were sitting in the first few rows, and the whole place was always involved in the show. It was so cool. And also got so watched a bunch of shows, volunteered a little bit, joined the youth theatre, got to perform on the stage, and yeah, I just got goosebumps every time like being in that venue. It was like a special place, and I continued that theatre bug when I moved to Canada. Went to Red Deer College for theatre and entertainment production. But parts about theatre production I like and I dislike. You'll never catch me with a hacksaw and stage carpentry, but I'm okay at hanging a light or two and a little bit of stage management. So I went through that program and then worked in that industry for a couple of years, probably doing different projects and stuff. And out of the entire time working and making money, when you weren't stressing about making money, what the next gig was, that was I guess the skills I learned from that were networking and how am I going to make money, right? So I guess those are two skills. But my favorite moment actually was when I got to teach high school students and help out on their productions at Hunting Hills High School in Red Deer. That was when I felt most in my element, like passing on. I'm definitely not an expert, but passing on my passion and love for the theatre to kind of the next generation. So did that, and then I was like, I got to the point where I just needed a bit of a change. It wasn't as exciting as I first walked in. I was working lots of hours and stuff, so I decided to go back to school. I did some security work for a while to help me get through school. Favorite thing about security is actually event security. I've done different types, but event security because the people are always changing. I've worked in other capacities where the people don't change as much, and I actually didn't like it because it just wears you. It just wears you down when you see the same people every single day, especially when you ask them and nothing has changed, so there isn't any different conversations.
Right.
Yeah, so did all that, and then I decided to go back to school it wasn't working out, so I took media and communications. I graduated on July 4th, 2019. It's only 2 years ago, but it feels like forever. I guess maybe with the pandemic, it feels like
I was gonna say, yeah. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then that's kind of, like I said earlier, is how the Teawithmike show started. So
right. So
it's funny how it all kind of, it's all one big journey, and there's a lot of like overlaps, like always the people when working events and that type of thing. So I'll probably keep my security license active, because from time to time I can see myself like doing a gig here or a gig there, just for fun even.
Yeah. Right. I'm just gonna. I got a couple questions now, but just out of curiosity, which security firm were you with?
Paladin Security.
Okay. All right.
And I also work for Pac-Man Productions. So.
Okay. All right. I was just curious because I have a cousin who owns MacCon, which is another security.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of them, so I didn't work for your cousin.
No, I was just curious. I just thought, was it that small of a world? We'll see.
What?
And when it came to the theater stuff from like between when you were in England and here, like, did you find much of a difference? Like, was it maybe that when you came here, wasn't because you said you kind of lost interest a bit, right? You wanted to make a change.
For sure.
Did it have anything to do with the difference between England and here in terms of how theater's done and that kind of thing, or?
Maybe slightly, like there's a stronger like history element for England and the theaters, because England as a country is a lot older than Canada, and so and then not everyone, but a lot of people in Canada, because it's a British tradition, don't know what a pantomime and that's kind of how I first fell in love for theater. So I mean, there's a lot of talent in Alberta and in Canada too, and I've seen some great shows here too at the Jubilee and the Fringe shows and all sorts. But that's how I first fell in love with theater. So that's my first memory in terms of connection, and so it's hard to dislodge from that.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, yeah,
it's just different. I love the street performers at Edmonton Fringe Festival. It is probably my favorite part of the Fringe Festival is the street performers. I've actually still talked to a whole bunch of street performers that have performed there, like on social media and stuff. So that's kind of cool.
Okay, no, that would be cool. And you and I think we talked a little bit about this pre-show. I think I'd mentioned before that Talent Talk's done some red carpet stuff, and that seemed to trigger something in you. And I was just kind of curious if that's something you would maybe want to delve into. Like, for example, like with the Fringe Festival, that'd be a great opportunity to just kind of go down there and start interviewing people as you're going along.
That is definitely in my thought process. I think that would be super cool. I could see myself in the future as the event industry comes back, like collaborating with different festivals and interviewing like different people or just some social media stuff, because I have a very strong like local audience too, which is what matters, especially in festivals like the arts, right, and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. We are actually at the 7:30 mark. We can continue talking, but I just wanted to throw out the reminder for the couple of folks that were here anyway, that if you have comments or questions for myself or Michael, go ahead and throw them into the comment section.
And also tweet at me, Alan.
and tweets as well. He loves the tweeter, as a friend of mine calls. He calls the tweeter all the time. And I actually mentioned that in my introduction as well, which of course got passed over. And one of the things I actually also I want to say this one line from my intro, because I think it was pertinent. My intro was that you had gone into the media school and that you had a passion for meeting people and that you had a love for tea. So the only natural path really was to create your talk show based on all those.
Interesting.
So,
and that's another thing. I've always enjoyed everything I've done. There's like anything you do, there's good parts and bad things. But I feel like without my knowledge, like all of these different experiences and different jobs, because I've done a lot of different jobs, they've all led to this, to the major idea, and I guess the major idea for me was the Tea with Mike show, right?
Right. Yeah. And speaking of, we never really did discuss the tea side of things. So the passion for tea, like, is that just a carryover from England, or like...
A tiny bit. This is a true fact, and not one that I even hype up. I've genuinely never had a cup of coffee in my entire life. Maybe I've sipped on it, but it's like way too strong for me and stuff. I remember back when I was at Red Dead College, and we had a quick 5 hours sound class on like a Tuesday morning starting at 9. And you barely got breaks in that class a lot of the time. And so we went to Tim Hortons on a quick like 10 minutes. And I remember getting my tea, medium steep tea with warm milk at the time. And I came back. I put it down. Maybe I went to the washroom or something. The instructor like switched it with another Tim Hortons that was sitting next to it, and then carried on like teaching the class. And then I went to pick it up. Probably like, I don't know, pretty much probably as soon as I got back, because I drink tea pretty fast, and I pick up the cup a lot. And so I pick it up. I'm listening to the instruction, pretending I'm paying attention. I'm like, and then the whole class like stops, because someone had probably realized that the instructor or somebody in that area, because I was sitting in the front row, switched it around, and
Right.
and I was like, oh my god. And then I eventually found my drink, and I was like, I got stitched up. And the instructor who liked to play. It's quite humorous and liked to play jokes.
Right. Yeah. So, what is your favorite tea?
So, favorite tea is Yorkshire tea, very strong black tea, very tiny amount of milk, but also starting to broaden out a touch, and had some chai tea recently, and that was different, but it was nice with some honey in. It was something that you could drink over a longer period of time, like the way it was made up. When you have Yorkshire tea, or a lot of teas just straight in the cup, and you use the method of making it with boiling water in the kettle and things like that, it goes cold very fast. So that probably is the reason why I drink it so fast.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm more of a chamomile and honey kind of guy. That's probably mine. I don't mind a little bit of an Earl Grey as well, but I'm pretty basic that way. I'm not much of a fancy tea drinker, so. And honestly, it's so weird, because I don't drink coffee either, except at work. Like if I'm in the office,
okay,
I'll drink a cup of coffee at work, but that's the only time. Otherwise, I'm like, I never touch this stuff.
Now, do you think you drink coffee at work because it's a habit, and it's quite a common thing to do in an office-based environment?
I think it's actually more of a, I gotta keep myself awake at the office, so let's give myself some strong caffeine. So I think that's what it comes down to more.
Nice.
I mean, there might be a little bit of a social aspect to it, but I think it's mostly, I gotta keep myself awake.
All right, I want to do this quick, just because like I can't go through an episode without asking a question. So my question to you is, where do you see Talent Talk in 5 years?
5 years, live studio audience. I don't want to say similar to In Between Two Ferns, because it's obviously nowhere near the same, but that kind of scenario where it's just, basically a black stage, a couple chairs, live studio audience, that the audience can ask questions.
That's cool. I'd love to do something similar too.
Yeah, that's the end goal for this project, I think. But
I feel like you could definitely make it work, and I also think I could make it work in a city like Edmonton, where I know a lot of people. You could fill that out.
Right, for sure.
If you planned it like far enough in advance, and you aligned it so you could get as many people as possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There would be a financial impact for sure. So there would definitely have to be a bit of a
Some sponsors. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, get some sponsors going and then go with that route. I think it's definitely feasible. I was actually hoping to already be almost to that point, but of course with COVID that kind of changed things. And I'm actually looking before the end of this season to get back to the live studio audience or the live in studio person to person interviews before end of season. So
I'm curious. Did people show up just because you've got first-hand experience and I don't?
you mean with the
Yeah.
live ones? I didn't in season 1 when I did the live in person interviews. It was just a one-on-one. There was no audience or anything like that.
Okay.
So I don't have the audience experience yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah, hopefully.
So it was just recorded live with the crew, basically.
Yeah, just recorded live, and then I would edit it down. Like we did like a 60-minute interview, and then we would cut it down to 15, 20 minutes and post it on YouTube. Yeah, whereas now, like as you know, it's 30, 40 minutes straight live, and then it's just there on YouTube, uncut and raw, shall we say. So.
Yeah. That is a couple of my other goals is how can I take some of the things I've learned with Teawithmike and apply it to like other aspects, right? And so it is. I've decided I would love to like be a like pitch side reporter at some like major sporting events like the FIFA World Cup or the Olympics and
right.
Things like that. I think that would be so cool. And then also arts festivals and even things like that would be amazing. Independent reporter. There we go.
Absolutely, right? No, that'd be great. Yeah. And that's like the few red carpets that I've done, that's what I really enjoyed about it. It's so different though compared to doing what we're doing right now, because you have maybe 3 minutes to get in your questions, get the answers out, and then it's on to the next person, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of rotating.
That's when preparation is important.
Yeah, it is. But again, if it's live, anything can happen, right? So
that's true too.
Even though you might be scripted, if they throw something your way that you're not ready for, you gotta handle it, right?
There's always some, like when you do it, and if you'll know this, there's always some basic questions. There's some fast, easy, like conversation starter in it. And then your brain's just got to work for like fast. All right, 30-second version on this or whatever. Obviously, it depends on the format and the structure of the event and the purpose of why you're there and stuff. But
absolutely, yeah. Cool. Unless there was something else you wanted to kind of bring to light, I think we can kind of wrap it up there. Again, I think it might be Mary that's still on watching, so thank you.
Hey,
maybe not, but if it is Mary, thank you, and whoever is watching, thank you very much. And we'll be back probably in a couple weeks. I think we're off next week, so it'll be a couple weeks from now. We'll have our next guest. I want to thank Michael so much for being on the show, and best of luck with Teawithmike, of course, and your other endeavors that you've got going on. And we're friends on Facebook now, so I'll be able to keep posted. And
maybe one day we'll do something live.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Michael. Thanks everybody for watching, and have a good night.
People can find me at Teawithmike if they just Google Teawithmike.
You know what? How silly of me. By the way, we'll just roll that for a few seconds so people can also go check it out there. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah.
Hey, you're welcome. No worries.
How professional of me.
That's cool.
So yes, go check out teawithmike.com and check out some of his work, some of his guests. There's a lot of good stuff on there. And thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, actually, sorry, I don't know if Mary's still here or not.
Yeah.
But before I just hit that, she did ask a question. And the question was, hey, Mike, who are some of your upcoming guests?
Okay, go think hat. All right, so I just actually recorded an episode of the show today with a local filmmaker, Ruben Cheddar, creates documentaries and that type of thing. But with people in Central Alberta and beyond. Next week on the Teawithmike show, We have Logan Mandevilla, who's an influencer on social media, just started a fitness brand. He was on track to do fairly well in the American system for their footballing and college-based sports system, but unfortunately a knee injury ended those dreams. So this episode will be all about how he's taken what he learned from the sports and his passion for fitness into creating this next adventure. So that's next week on the Teawithmike show. This is why it would be better live, because of that I could do more of this, right?
Right, absolutely, for sure.
But stay tuned, because there will be some. I'll be bringing back guests from the Teawithmike show in a live stream format, so that could be quite exciting.
Nice. Yeah, so like you said, keep your eyes open and check out his website. And once again, thanks everybody. Thanks for the question, Mary. And we'll see you all in a couple weeks. Thanks.